Welcome. This is the next stage in our Amnesia Fortnite process where we've selected our games that we're making, and the project leaders of those games are going to come up here and tell the team at Double Fine about what those games are in more detail, and the team gets asked some questions because they're going to leave this room and they're going to go indicate which game they would most like to work on, and then we'll start the process of assigning the teams and breaking up to 4 groups. And then I just hike out of here by that point. I'm done. So we're going to just get it kicked off, right? And we're going to go in this order. The first game is Darwin's Dinner. Devin Kelly Sneak, come on up here, Devin. What are you going to be? Are you going to be showing a thing, or are you just going to be talking? Look, you got a presentation. All right, take it away, sir. We're over here.
Press spacebar to advance.
All
right.
Oh.
There you go. All right. So hopefully you've all already seen my 30-second pitch and you know a little bit about the game. In the next 2 weeks, we're not going to be building Darwin's Dinner. We're going to be building the Darwin's Dinner prototype. A lot jankier. So game setting. You are on an island with creatures. Those creatures, within a species, they have natural variation among various traits, size, speed, spikiness, things like that. And you can hunt the creatures to collect food. And the game ends when you either reach winter and didn't collect enough food to survive through the winter, or we're going to probably cut it off after some number of cycles for the prototype. Game phases. So game's divided into 2 phases. We've got the summer, where you do the hunting, and the winter. During the winter, you aren't doing anything. You just go back into your cave or house or whatever. In the meantime, all the animal creature populations are reproducing based on their genetics, and you'll hopefully get some kind of information about how that reproduction worked out. And then it loops back to the summer. Scope for the prototype, we're going to have player movement with hunting mechanics, at least 2 species with at least 3 meaningful traits each. When I say meaningful traits, it's things that will affect your decisions about them. So their speed matters to you because if it's really fast, it's hard to catch. If it's got spikes, trying to catch it, you might hurt yourself some. If you hurt yourself too much, you might die. So those are the types of traits that should be on there. It's not going to just be oh, that one's got blue face for some reason. I don't know. We will have the summer-winter phase loop, and then of course the core of the reproduction system with the. Nothing will be depicted on screen.
Verbose text.
Yes.
Beautifully written.
Maybe in debug features. I don't know. But the important there is the genetic algorithms for passing on the traits that are still present in the surviving population. So the design pillar for the prototype is evolution through artificial selection. So everything we do in the game is going to be to serve that one goal. So that's kind of, if we think of a cool feature, if it helps us explore this in an interesting way, then it's something we will consider. If not, then we probably just save that cool feature for maybe the full game. Primary challenges, creating and balancing that evolution system to allow the player to make interesting choices, have an interesting possibility space to explore, but without it devolving into just complete chaos or extinction, or just stasis. If it's not ever changing, that's also not interesting. So that's going to be a big challenge. And then also the art for the creatures. So having visuals for the characters where you can look at an individual creature and recognize what traits that one has. So if you're trying to, say, eliminate all the ones that can hear really well, because it's hard to sneak up on them right now, you'll be able to look at them at a glance and be like, oh, okay, all those guys have big ears. I will go after those. So game view is going to be sort of like a Don't Starve, I think. Isometric look, but we are not going with 2D art, although I consider that quite a bit. Character art for the creatures, I'm thinking, this is all subject to change when my team kind of thinks through with me, but I'm thinking something like a Mr. Potato Head, where we have a base creature with animation on it, but then we can snap parts onto it, like the ears, the nose, tail, spikes, to kind of illustrate the different traits. But that means we can procedurally show all of the different possible combinations of traits within that species. My approximate team composition, producer, 2D artist, animator, character artist, environment artist, VFX artist, support from the audio team, who, as I understand, is going to be kind of working somewhat as a group. I'd like to have a systems designer, and I would like to have 3 programmers. I know the reality is we probably don't actually have 3 programmers available, so probably 2 programmers. And why is this a cool concept? Why is this an exciting thing? Evolution is like a really interesting process. There's a lot of complexity to it. I think it's just a lot of fun to explore that. It's got complex systems for the player to explore and for us to design, and I think that's a fun thing. We have a couple big challenges on the system design and balancing, and on the art to show off the creatures. And I think it scales incredibly well. And so if we ever go to make a full game out of this, I think the possibilities are basically endless. So I think that is everything. And now I will answer questions.
Do you have any special pleas for somebody you really not my name, but I mean, like, it's like, if I'm going to get this game, I really need someone who knows how to mine. With special skills.
Mine. Yeah, so, I mean, I think systems design experience is something that's probably very important. And then on the art side, so, I mean, I'm not an artist. So someone that wants to kind of take on art direction, I think would be a pretty useful thing to have.
Oh, there. Okay. Those ones that play Don't Starve, what is that game like? What is the gameplay going to be?
Oh, sure. So in Don't Starve, you've got a character, and I mean, they have a lot more complexity to like crafting and stuff, but we won't have that. But you maybe have like a weapon of some sort or tool, and you kind of wander around in the world, and it's about kind of collecting resources. And so what I'll be taking from that is wandering around through the world and hunting the creatures. And I mean, does that give you a good idea?
Yeah, so it's kind of top down looking at
sort of
space.
3/4 to
Look for critters to
find the creatures, and then I haven't decided if you're just going to run up and like grab them, or if we want to have some kind of range thing, and that kind of decision about how exactly we hunt will be based on the interactions with the traits. And so if there's a particular hunting mechanic that allows us to do more interesting things with the traits, or makes certain traits a more interesting decision that you have to make, then that'll be how we go about deciding on the hunting mechanic.
Thanks.
Kind of in the similar vein, like, is hunting kind of the only thing you do? Do you need to like make a base to return to for the winter? Do you need to like scrounge up materials, cut down trees at all?
For the prototype, it's just the hunting.
Okay, so you
we're
just
keeping it very
and
simple.
you have your weapon, like that's a weapon that's always with you. It doesn't
Sure.
break or anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if we think it's more interesting to like hide the weapon so you have to find it, we could do that. But
Make furs.
I don't think that's important to it. Paul.
Is Don't Starve a good audio and music reference as well, or do you have any other things we'd be able to look at just to get an idea of the soundscape you're looking for and the music you might be interested in?
That's a great question. I have some ideas about music. I haven't thought too hard about the audio yet, and I'd be happy to talk to you afterwards in more detail. I have some ideas about music and trying to incorporate having the traits that are prevalent in the population affect the music, like bring in different layers of it or things like that. But in terms of sound effects, I haven't thought too hard about it. Zach.
you have any idea whether the player character himself would evolve between seasons, or their stats remain?
At least in the prototype, no. It's about you affecting the evolution of the other creatures, and you yourself are more static.
So when it comes to the hunting mechanic and the evolution mechanic, how do you envision? Maybe you don't have anything thought of. How much information HUD-wise would you see on screen when you're going after like a creature? Like, do you see that being told as much as possible through just the visual of the creature itself, or do you actually envision some sort of like stat system where you'd actually see maybe a mouse over example or something where you kind of get an idea of what that thing is?
My hope is that we can get it all into just the visuals of what the creature looks like, and maybe some of the time there would be some aspect of that creature. It's like, oh, I don't know, it's got like blue ridges on the side, and I don't know exactly what that means. And then from playing the game, you could then discover, oh, okay, I see that the ones that have the blue are like more aggressive.
Okay, so it's much more of a trial and error.
So there would be some amount of kind of exploration, but I'm not sure how deep we're going to get into that in the prototype.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. We may want to have some amount of stats that we show you during the reproduction phase that gives you a sense of kind of which traits, like what is the trend among the traits, like if good hearing is going down or up or things like that.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Does the environment affect the hunting, or is it just like you go to a flat area and there's a bunch of things you can hunt?
Right now, the environment's not going to affect the area very much.
Okay.
Or how things, yeah.
Cool.
Sorry. So, how do you kind of see the actual hunting, like the nitty gritty of the hunting? Is that like kind of Don't Starve, where you have like a single attack and you kind of try to go back and forth, or are there additional moves to try to like pin them down? Or
I mean, I think I thought of it either just like running up to the thing and attacking it, or having some sort of ranged weapon, and I think that's just going to come down to which one makes the gameplay more interesting in terms. So like, if we make a really important trait on the things their speed, running up to catch them is now difficult if they're fast, and so that's an interesting decision, and maybe that makes the ranged weapon less interesting in that case, but maybe there's a different trait that we think is more interesting overall that would make the ranged weapon a better choice. So. And Paul again.
I was just curious, do you think you're going to have any predators that are out to get you at all? Like, will your decisions affect like how dangerous the environment is for you to look at?
So I think the creatures in the environment can potentially be dangerous to you, and so probably not all of them, but some of them would have some amount of danger, and depending on how they evolve, that danger could increase or decrease. Cool. And so that's something you have to be conscious of.
Okay, great. Oh, okay, last question.
So, with the evolution mechanic, I'm assuming then certain populations of creatures could affect other populations of creatures?
So,
like predator prey.
Yeah. So,
mechanic.
At least in the prototype, I don't intend to depict interspecies attacks. Like, so you won't see wolves attacking something else out in the wild. But I'm thinking we may during the winter phase. So they would reproduce, but then also we may scale the population somewhat. So if you've made the prey species very, very vulnerable through how you've evolved them, their population may naturally decrease because the predator species is still very strong and the prey species is weak.
Great. Okay, thank you, Devin. Awesome. Everybody, pizza is here. You guys maybe don't go all at once, but in groups or however you want to do it. But their pizza is here. Or go all at once, whatever.
he's setting up.
All the projects lost out to pizza. Everyone go to pizza.
It's a secret Vegas game.
We'll be up in a minute with. Is Zach next? You have a few minutes to figure out what you're doing.
Oh God!
You have no idea.
Where am I?
Oh, this is great because I installed my VR in the parlor.
There you go. There was one.
Jiminy.
I'm gonna go to the bathroom.
All right. Zach McLennan is going to the bathroom. Are we still live?
Tim, did you want community questions for Devin?
Oh, yeah.
I think that's about good order.
Okay. So, you want to get some community questions? Get any questions? I don't know if I'm on camera right now, but in case I am, send in your questions to us. No, I'll get pizza. I think so. I've done that.
So, I mean, I think I haven't figured out exactly.
Where's Brad Muir and his clicker? Remember Brad always had a clicker?
Is probably I don't know. Random guess is like 4 or 5 minutes.
It's quite hard to nail something like that down.
So, and I think that's it's really going to kind of be something that we're going to have to iterate on and see how many creatures is enough in the population and what percentage of that you're going to want to take, and then how long does it take to do that. So I think it's it's open design question.
Would you be able to use aspects of the animals to improve your weapons over the seasons?
Probably not in the prototype, but in a full version of the game, you would want to evolve them in a way that gives you some new resource. So like, oh, I want to make those have really long claws so I can harvest their claws to make a better weapon of some sort.
But that would also just make them more dangerous to hunt.
Yes. I mean, it's a trade-off. It makes it an interesting choice for the player.
What's the main objective? Is it just to survive as long as you can?
So it's to so the game right now will just ask you to survive. So survive as long as you can. But it'll be somewhat player. I hope that players kind of want to set their own objectives. Like, oh, let's see if I can make this interesting thing happen, or try this challenging approach to it. What if I make the predators really dangerous? What do I get from that?
You have that example of trying to make a chicken into a dinosaur.
Yeah.
Is it that?
Where do I put it? Where I can't.
I
always do.
Yeah, but you put it inside your drive.
I certainly hope so.
I move around a lot. I'm very animated.
Are
you ready to
I don't
go?
expect us to get there.
What's that? You're gonna announce me? Should I come on from the side?
I don't know if anybody.
Where's the shot?
Everybody ready? Okay, Zach's gonna give a presentation.
Okay, back to Zach now.
Are you ready?
Thank you.
All right.
Next up, we have Zach McClendon. I have no idea what I'm doing.
That's true. Every time. Yay! Hello, everyone. So my game, which you probably heard of, is called I Have No Idea What I'm Doing. I subtitled it here a VR parlor game. So like a parlor game is charades or 20 questions or something that you would play in a mixed group of people. It's really easy to get into. It's very rules light. It's silly. It's fun. You can kind of play it with anyone, anywhere, which was sort of my goal for making this concept. And the idea is that one player is in VR, and they're thrown into a variety of strange and disorienting situations where they have no idea what they're supposed to do, or in fact, like who they actually are. And these are like tiny little micro game interactions. You may need to punch something, or find something, or pick up an object, or shoot a thing, but you really have no idea. And then the people outside out of VR, all the rest of your friends, are given clues that help give them some of the information about what you need to do, but they also need you to describe kind of what you're seeing and where you are. And I'm in a forest, and I think I might be a bear or whatever. And then you have to kind of yell back and forth to try to figure out what to do in a very short amount of time. And it's meant to be fast and silly and kind of a little stupid, and something that you could play as an icebreaker very quickly with just about anybody you know. The creative pillars for this is that it's supposed to be social. It's like an icebreaker game. We really want to get people talking. It should be a fun, easy thing. It should be confusing and disorienting for the person that's in VR, not in an alienating sort of way, but we really do want to play around with like putting you in the weirdest possible situations so you can maximize that confusion. So the person in VR, when they're describing the thing to the people outside of VR, it sounds kind of impossible and incredulous that you're like, what are you saying that you are? Silly, it's lighthearted, it's not meant to be like tense and hard and angry. Another game that's sort of similar than this is Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, which is an awesome game. It's about diffusing bombs, but it's also super tense because you're diffusing bombs. And active, that it's really about making a game that's physically and mentally a lot of high energy. And in fact, one of the things that's nice is we can really think about it more of like what we want to get people to doing while we're playing this game, because we'll be doing a lot of playtesting over the course of this project. And we want to see people laughing, yelling, arguing, moving around, and just being high energy. And so it's like what we will test against when we actually test this thing, because we'll have to test it a whole bunch over the course of the game. The prototype scope would just be a simple shell, start, end rules, probably change player, because I think it's important to be able to identify what player is in VR and out so you can swap it around. Getting the VR basics up and running. The idea for this would be room scale. We'll be doing it for the Vive so that you can maximize the ridiculous pantomime that you get people to do as they walk around the room. And I think one of the things that we'll probably try to do is maximize how ridiculous you look outside VR for what hand motions you have to do inside, so you can just let your mind run wild with that. Getting the basic flow up with rounds, scoring, and the hint display outside of VR, and then as many of the micro games as we possibly can manage. I'm thinking probably about 20 of those, enough for 2 full rounds where somebody can do it and then somebody else can swap in and do it again. But that would consist of a ton of relatively low fidelity content. We can talk about art direction for the game when we get a team together, but the idea we would want something very iconic, a little cartoony, low poly, so we could make this stuff very, very quickly and have a lot of different little game types and interactions, a lot of different settings, remixes of those settings, authoring a bunch of hands so that when you come in, you've got like flippers or robot arms or giant drills or whatever. Possibly feet also if we end up getting those pucks from, so they've made, Vive has trackers that you can put on anything, so we'll attach them to like some slippers and then you can have feet in VR and those could be anything. It could be giant houses and you need to go around and like make a town happen or something, I don't know. Tools that actually do something, so flashlight, a cutter, a giant fork, whatever that you would do something with in VR, and then props that are just like simple, like it's a football, it's a beach ball, it's a dead whale, whatever. As a stretch goal, it'd be really, really nice to get mixed reality recording done in that, which I don't know if you've ever seen. You basically have a green screen, and then you project the person in VR into the VR location, and I think it would probably result in some really hilarious videos. So that would be a stretch goal, but I actually have no idea how hard that would be to get done. Ideal team would be 2 programmers, 3 modelers or 3D artists. I think most of the art is going to be relatively basic. And so focusing on just producing a lot of it. A concept artist, 2D artist, a level designer, a world artist, 1 animator, and a producer to help coordinate playtesting and also making sure VR stuff continues to run over time. And then support from audio and VFX. And myself. Why would you want to work on this thing? Well, it's a pretty simple concept, which means we can get it up and running soon, hopefully, and focus on doing rapid iterative development and being guided by the functioning prototype. It's a bit experimental, to be honest. Some of this stuff I don't know how to do. Maximizing the sort of discussion and communication between players in and out of VR is something that's going to be explored by actually building the game and trying things out and testing it. So if that's exciting to you, it's not like, here's the prototype, go build it, hope it's awesome. It's creatively open. It's not a very rigid idea in terms of its tone or direction. So any weird idea you have probably has a home somewhere in this game. And I want to get people who are excited about brainstorming and coming up with lots of crazy, wacky interactions and locations and situations and props. So if that sounds exciting to you, it might be fun. It's a social game, which means a lot of the playtesting is focused on actual behavioral analysis, and we can tell if the game is getting good because the people behave in a way that we want them to behave. So even though it is kind of experimental, there's really specific design problems to solve that we can test against and see if we're going in the right direction. And then lastly, it's going to be very playtest driven. We have to get it to be fun within the first week, basically, and then from there, playtest, iterate, add content, and just doing a lot of observation and dragging, hopefully, people who can spare the time from AF to play, because I think it will be something we have to get new players in all the time. So hopefully that sounds like an exciting creative environment, because it was one of the things I wanted to do with an AF pitch would be something that would be really fun to make as well as fun to play. And that's kind of my hope for the team. And that's it, basically. Questions?
If we are not on your team, can we still give you minigame ideas?
Sure, absolutely, yeah. You can just you can go and dump them in Slack. They don't even have to be minigame ideas. They could just be like, I think you should have one where you're a walrus, or you're on the moon, or your head's very tiny and your feet are very big, or whatever. We'll have a giant list of that stuff.
Were you thinking of having randomness factor to a bunch of these things?
Yeah, I think you want a certain amount of randomness for replayability. So within each of the, I've sort of been organizing it by like, there's interaction or game types that are about kind of a rule set of, you need to shoot the thing, find the thing, grab the thing. And then there are the settings and the props and the interactions that you have in there, and having some sort of system to randomize those things a bit. So the character you play, like who you are and what you have for arms in the location and what your goal are, those are all things that are running on different tracks, and they might be somewhat randomized. We'd obviously want to optimize that down into the interesting combinations rather than having it be fully procedural and there's a whole bunch that are just boring. But I do think you want something that's like modular where you can mix and match it and have it come up in surprising different weird ways.
So you said about 20 games is the goal for this.
Yeah.
What's the maybe there isn't an answer, but like what do you see as like the smallest, fastest amount of time you could solve one of these things?
Yep.
And what do you see as like the absolute longest one would drag on for? Maybe,
I mean, they're going to be time-based, so it is going to be a thing where there's like a ticking timer, boom, 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 boom. You have to solve it, or else you get a strike against you, and 3 strikes you're out. Something else I think we want to play test. I'm going to guess it's probably longer than my instincts would assume, based on sort of the disorientation of being in VR and how much you have to like kind of pad that out so that people don't get super. You want it to be confusing, but you don't want anybody to barf. So I think there'll probably have to be a relatively gentle of like next round, you're in, give people a chance to settle, look around, and then start hitting them with the pressure of what they're supposed to do. So I'm sort of imagining like 15 seconds is probably as short as one of these things would be, and like 30 seconds would be a really, really long one. But it's something else that we should play around with of what is the sweet spot of applying pressure to people without having them freak out about it. Because I think your instincts for making a video game, you can go push a lot further into that before people start to feel some actual physical.
How much time will you have to leave to someone putting that on and going, whoa?
Yeah, exactly. But the idea for like a full round is because it's meant to be kind of intense and high engagement for the person in VR. So my hope is that a round would be like 5 minutes long. Like the whole thing, you'd play like 10 mini games in a row, and it'd be 5 minutes long. You'd be like, whew, okay, somebody else take a turn, because I'm a little confused now.
Cool.
Yes.
What's the delivery method to the person not in VR? The hidden information I assume that they have that they're trying to...
That is one of the biggest things to prototype. So the very simple version of it is just there's text on a screen, and the people outside VR are yelling that thing and trying to understand what that means with the discussion from what's inside VR. So you have one piece of the puzzle, they have one piece of the puzzle, and you try to meld those things. That's the simplest thing and the thing we probably prototype first. And then there are more complicated versions where like you're literally given a thing on a screen that literally is a puzzle, and it's a rebus or an anagram or parts are moving or something like that. And then there's the super deluxe version, which I don't think is in scope for Amnesia Fortnite, that a lot of people brought up, which is like you actually get the clues on your phone. So you sign in, and it's like an HTML5 thing where everybody joins a room, and you get the clue on your phone, and so you're comparing notes from other people, and then you can have other little interactive things where you can draw stuff in VR and they see it. And there's a lot of possibilities there that I think would be really interesting to explore. I don't think we could get that propped up during AF, and I don't think it's required to make the concept work ultimately. And so this would be a proof of concept for that. But if we did make it into like a full game, I would absolutely think that would be probably the best mechanism for that thing.
So you have multiple hidden information across...
Yeah, you could have like every player signs in, and you could have the information distributed across multiple people. But you also want to make sure that it's all one conversation, and it's not like everybody outside VR is talking and then you yell something at the person in VR. You want it to be like one big, crazy, chaotic conversation. Brian?
Do we have enough vibes to develop this?
Well, because it's room scale, we don't have enough space to develop it. So unfortunately, we're going to have that was why originally my team, I had IT, like one IT person full time on my team. But my understanding right now is you can't only have the IT person on my team. So so we'll probably have to have a system where we're deploying full room scale stuff in Lola. and checking it here on a really regular basis, and then at your desk having another kit for just sort of verifying like the assets run and the interactions work and things like that. Yes?
Code-wise, are you thinking like family-friendly or Cards Against Humanity, or like kind of what audience?
I mean, ultimately, I think it should be like, family friendly for like a 10-year-old and up, not like little kids, because you shouldn't put your little kids in VR for 10 minutes. I think there'll be a lot of less family-friendly humor that develops out of it, just because it's like a full body engagement kind of thing. But that's sort of more. It should be more dependent on the crowd than the people. And then the same kind of thing also, like if we did develop it into a full game. One of the things they've done with the Jackbox games that's really nice is they have a family-friendly mode where they take all the stuff out that might be lewd in any way, so you can play it with little kids and stuff like that. But I think for AF, like we'll probably just chase the funniest stuff while not doing anything actually pornographic. I hope. We'll see. Any other questions?
Excellent. Thank you, Zach.
All right.
Thank you. So, Zach, how did we do the questions with Ben?
Exactly.
We did the question at the end? From the stream or?
One more, which is from the community.
Absolutely. I've already set up I don't know what I'm doing, specific Twitter account that I have activated but not actually advertised yet. So.
Are people out getting pizza? Oh yeah, pizza break. Next up, Kiln. Take your time. Do you want some pizza beforehand? Doing karate chopping. Man, smoke bombs?
Yeah, you're gonna make some huge bongs. I'm sure they're gonna make.
Yeah, they're going to be bongs. I mean, and also, well, I won't go into it, but yeah.
That's
Yeah,
actually
exactly.
a really good name.
Bombs and
Yeah,
that's better. That is a better name than Kiln.
the game.
Are we starting? Are we waiting for Tim? Oh, okay. Starting? Okay. Hello. This is Kiln. Hi. First of all, I wanted to thank you guys for voting for Kiln. I'm glad you saw some potential in this weird-ass project, and I can't wait to work on it with you. So I went from that slide to the most boring slide in the whole presentation. Just as an overview, this is a third-person game, multiplayer, team-based brawler. And you have two teams, and you play as these little useless spirits. They are horrible. They just float over the ground, and they have these dangly arms that don't do anything, and they're useless. You're floating around in this arena, and you each have a base, and maybe they were warring tribes like a long time ago, but right now they can't do anything to each other. Thankfully, there's a giant head on the hill above them, and he's been sitting there for like 1,000 years, and he's super bored, and he's like, I need to get some action going. So he gives you a pottery wheel, and this is a magic pottery wheel that your little spirit can use to craft a body for himself that he can go and try to beat up the other side. And so this useless little guy becomes this fierce warrior, but only while he's in this vessel. And so you fight. And I really want to, I was going to say something here. I can't remember. Even if you get destroyed or you get broken, it's okay because you can just make another one. And you're a spirit, so you can't die. Your whole goal is to get to the other side and destroy their pottery wheel before they destroy yours. The prototype, I want to focus on three big things that I think are really key for this. I want to make really cool player sculpted characters on a pottery wheel. That's key, but then also they have to act and control and fight in a way that you would expect these shapes to behave. So if you're really top heavy, you should be kind of like top heavy when you're walking around, or if you're bottom heavy, you're more stable. And then the third part is that this is a team-based multiplayer game, and I think I find it would be hilarious if players have to describe shapes using words, and all sorts of funny chat and funny dialogue could happen from that. For the art direction, I'm thinking I'd like to try doing a really harsh break between like a very realistic, angular textured environment, and the spirits are these sort of cartoony, very exaggerated, flat shaded things. I want to avoid the creepy factor that you see in like the new Beauty and the Beast. I didn't say that. Where you have these inanimate objects that are like, they just kind of look creepy when they come to life if they're too realistic looking. So I'd like to try this. I think it could be interesting. I'm also looking at Moche pottery, which is an amazing. They're these. It's an ancient civilization from Peru, way before like the Incans, and they made these awesome pottery things, pots. They, as a side note, they had the best pornographic pottery you've ever seen. They destroy the Greeks, like hands down. So be careful if you Google them because you will get some obscene. They took it very seriously. I just put this for the sound guys. Just check this out and think of how it might sound. I think that could be interesting. And so for the team. For the team, 2 to 3 programmers would be ideal. Like if I'm going back over those 3 pillars, they're all, I see programmer, and programmer in my head. But also like a designer, because there's gonna be some hard problems to solve in terms of you have to be able to build these guys very quickly because all of this is happening during gameplay. You're not sitting around to carefully craft a thing. VFX. It seems like there'd be a ton of VFX in this, and any sort of technical skills that they could help out with would really help in terms of like setting up crazy rigs or setting up, all sorts of other like programming. They might help with programming. Concept, I would love help with concept and UI. If you're interested in this, I would love to work with you. Character artists, there's gonna be some weird rigging. I'm not really sure how that's gonna work yet, but I think it'll be an interesting challenge that we can tackle. And yeah, and I'd like to make a really lush environment, so a couple cool environment artists and producer and all that stuff. You guys get that? And anyway, I don't know why I put that in. I put that in the last minute for some reason, but so thank you. Did you guys have any questions? Can I answer? Yeah, it's very yeah.
So it's a multiplayer on the network here.
Ideally, it would be multiplayer on the network. Perhaps, maybe we could get Steamworks integration network stuff, but that's a big question mark. If all else fails and that's impossible, we could do split screen, but I'd really like to have like 4 versus 4 at least.
4 versus 4 at least. Okay. And so you're not
Or at most, I'm sorry.
You're not starting off split screen as a...
No, not starting off. That's a backup plan.
And how do you think, do you have any ideas for how to make it so there's not just like one pot that's the best to make every single time?
Yeah, I think building, that's another design challenge, is building the pot should be kind of a difficult thing. We should, like the bigger you get, the harder it should be, and like the more you like kind of touch it, the more risk you have of it collapsing. So yeah.
It's gonna be a dirty sounding project.
Yeah, I know, I'm doing a lot of this. Yes?
Can the spirits interact with other spirits or other pots in any way?
Well, they can interact with any pots that are on their team, and the pottery wheel. So if you want to have like your friend building a bunch of pots while everyone else is out fighting, so they can come back and get another pot really fast, that's something you can do. But they can't like fight each other in the spirit realm. They're totally useless. Sorry. Kim?
I was just trying to picture in my head, maybe you said it, but like where the fighting takes place is in like a forest or an arena or...
Yeah, so it's like an arena in like these sort of Peruvian mountainscapes, sort of like Machu Picchu
like
sort of
what
thing.
You showed in the slides. Something
Yeah.
Like that. Okay.
What's that?
No, mouthful. So the arms and legs, are those like added depending on the kind of pot you make, or do you make the arms and legs yourself?
The arms and legs, right now I'm thinking you would just pick the arm location. The leg location would just be the widest part at the bottom. And those would just be, I have it differently in the concepts, but those would just be your spirit arms just come out.
Oh, okay.
So if you're like wearing like a giant like onesie, like a pot onesie.
Sure.
Yeah.
The pot-on-pot combat, like how do you imagine that would play out?
I think because there's so many challenges with the project, I feel like that probably won't be a super deep thing. Right now I'm thinking it would just be punching. Like if we can get some punching with if you can pick the arm location and they punch depending on like what kind of shape they are, and that comes through in the physics of it all, I think that'd be awesome.
Would you be incrementally damaged, like chipped, or would you be totally fractured or?
Yeah, well, one of the things I'm thinking about for designing, like why you pick the arm location is you can also pick the head location, and so if you get bopped in the spirit face, you can get knocked out of it. So you could get chipped and beaten up. Probably not like physically modeled, like pieces of you coming off. It would probably just be like exploding into a shower of stuff. Maybe we could do some decals with like cracks and stuff.
Okay.
It wouldn't be like. Yeah.
If you can knock spirits out of the pots, does that mean you can like hermit crab their pot?
Yeah, maybe.
Pot jack.
I think that there's a lot of those little possibilities we could talk about.
Is there sort of any incentive to make like specific shapes, or is it just sort of combat?
Yeah, the incentive would be like we have to make, well, the smaller you are, I would think that the faster you could run, and if you're bigger, you're slower, but you can take more damage, like that sort of stuff. But also like if you make a really big top and you put your arms up there, maybe that makes you swing harder. or you're slower but it's more powerful.
So there's not a state of the game where you have to have like a specific shape to go through.
I think that'd be cool. It's happening. The aliens are coming. I think that would be cool if we had stuff in the environment, like there's a power up behind a rock that only a tiny guy could get through. And maybe there's like, it's easier to get into the enemy base if you're a certain shape, like a crazy weird shape that you have to make. Yeah.
Is this kind of resource based? If I make a giant pod, is there less resources for me to make like smaller pods for the other 3 team members or something?
I think we need to talk over like what that implies, but it could be. It could also be that just making a big one is just really hard to do, so it's just like a skill-based thing. I'm not sure yet.
Yeah, is there a time limit to how long you have to make your pot? And does everyone start with the same amount of clay?
I think the time limit in terms of time, there shouldn't be a time limit, but anytime you're building things, you're not fighting and you're not advancing. So, like similar to that question, like I'm not sure yet if you're going to have a limited amount of clay or not.
How do you envision actually creating these pots? Like, what's the UI for it, and then how does that become a rigged character? Do you know?
That's my question to you. I would say I see this as like very similar. Not this one. Very similar UI to this, where you would be not UI but view, where you'd see the pod here and you have maybe a couple hands that you could like squish and pull.
Yeah.
And maybe that's with like sticks and bumpers. In terms of how to rig that, I don't know. Like technically, I'm not sure, but I don't know how to answer that question yet. We'll have to go down that path.
Get somebody really smart to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the pot's like a hard body, right?
Yeah.
The pot doesn't deform or anything.
No, they're all ceramic. Yeah, yeah. They like right when you're done with it, you can like hit the kiln button, and like fire shoots at it, and you like harden it.
Do you support glazes?
There could be a glaze power up, perhaps. I don't want to answer that question. I don't know what that implies. Yeah.
Do players have to wait for each other to make pots, or are they all
No.
doing it at the same time?
They should never have to wait for
Okay.
you. I don't think. I mean, we could talk about it, but that's my first instinct.
Because you said there's one wheel, and I figured.
Yeah, that's a weird thing to talk about.
Okay.
Maybe there's 4 wheels, one for each person. Or maybe you can just all jump in it and it doesn't matter. Yeah,
Cool.
it's a stacked thing.
Any other questions for Derek? We're good? All right, awesome. Okay, well that camera gets left unattended. Our final pitch is running out of the room.
The shapes themselves are like the reason I limited it to just a pottery wheel is just because that it's just way faster. You only have 2 axes to really like control, and it enables you to do fast things. So you're never sitting there making like a masterpiece, like dinosaur pornographic thing. Yeah, unless you're like
But like, and then go ask like how much they make all of those, depending on like temperature of the pot. That was that last choice and awesome.
I don't know about a progression, but I'd like to at least have some indication of it that you can find in the environment. So like maybe you get like super strong arms, or you you could put all sorts of stuff in your pot as well, maybe.
Like
But
inside
yeah, like maybe you have like a cannonball, like you collect a cannonball power up, and then you could like fire it, and it's like bigger or smaller depending on how big your diameter is, But that seems like a stretch goal for this prototype. It's already very ambitious.
There's a bunch of people who have asked about being able to pick up broken pieces of pottery to reuse.
Oh, that's cool.
Is
Yeah.
that a thing that you can?
I don't know.
Does that even
Like,
work with pots? Because you kind of need the soft clay, right?
well,
to-
there is I think there's like a Japanese method of ceramics where you take these broken pieces and you kind of make a thing out of it. But I don't know. For this, probably not for the prototype.
I like that idea of clay as a resource, where like Maybe you make a big, strong one, but that's like a third of your play.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then it's just like a constant battle to try and win.
Yeah. Then do you have people just like? Do you have your teammates just like hogging all the clay though? Like I'm worried about that thing. Yeah.
But are you picking up play when you kill people?
Maybe. Yeah. We have to talk to some of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything from this. Yeah, everybody was loving it.
Cool. Cool.
Man, thank you.
Thanks.
It's not like the real
I'll give you a sit on live so you can get all your stuff set up.
Yes, Jared, doing work. Can am I still on this, Paul?
All right. Yeah, so to quickly recap the basic premise, there's two phases. In the first one, you race through the town and you try and gather as many ingredients as you can. And the whole time you're doing this, there is a god moving through the town and you're trying to get all of your stuff together and get to the arena before he does, or she does. Once you get in there, you have to prep your meal and serve it on gigantic dinnerware. But to be realistic, we're just going to do the arena part for the prototype, just focusing on that one part. And if miraculously somehow we manage to make that work quickly, then we can go back and do the other thing. But I don't see that as being as essential for this purpose. In most cooking games, the process is like pretty abstracted through a lot of mini games. There's a lot of like tap here 3 times to cut this thing up, or press B here and then wait for a little progress bar to fill up, and then carry stuff around. I think Overcooked does it really well because there's a lot of frantic moving around, but I kind of want to take that into 3 dimensions in a much bigger arena. And the way that we're going to do that is to take this idea of mini games and make them huge. And you're going to be small within that, and you will be running around and guiding the ingredients through these ridiculous cooking contraptions in order to get them ready for plating. I took some inspiration from Japanese game shows, as I mentioned in my pitch. A lot of what I like is in those programs is that these sets are very, very specifically designed for the most ridiculous tasks you can imagine. So this is like a good jumping off point as far as where your head should be for coming up with ideas on how to combine machinery with different cooking and cutting processes. But I do want to say that the Japanese game show thing was just kind of a shorthand in the pitch for implying a certain degree of wackiness, just because there's so much crazier and out there than game shows in most other countries. But it does not have to be totally Japanese themed, the game I mean in general. We should feel free to just make it however nuts we want and not feel tied to a particular culture. This can be American Gladiator if you want, whatever, it doesn't matter. So, or just draw from everything and have no sort of guiding principle. I don't know. We'll see. As an example, this is something just very fast, and this can totally change and be whatever later. But I was just thinking of if you needed to deep fry shrimp, rather than just dropping it into a deep fryer and waiting for a little progress bar to fill up, you would have this sort of insane shrimp car wash type thing, and you would run this shrimp over. And these things are gigantic. You're carrying them like this, or sort of companion cubing them in front of you while you run around. And you would set it up at the mouth of this thing where there are a bunch of hooks on a little moving belt, and those things would go through, and you would run alongside onto the glass side where you're looking through. And at the first stage, you would jump on one thing to blast it with some cornstarch, and then you would run over, and then you would pull this thing down to make it dip into the batter, and then you would release it when it was coated, and then it would keep moving along, and then there was this other thing that you have to climb up to and like stamp somehow or punch to get it to drop into the oil. Just things like that. So coming up with crazy machines like that will be fun, I think. Arena obstacles could be any like normal kitchen nightmare stuff that happens to you, and I'm sure we can come up with other crazy things. But I feel like just having to manage the cook times will be crazy enough, so we don't need to really think about enemies so much, just environmental hazards. If there's time for enemies, we can do that, but that's something that would be more appropriate for the first stage of the game if this ever gets turned into a bigger thing. The main design challenges would be visually communicating the order of operations and cooking tasks. I mentioned in the pitch that there would be like this panel of commentators guiding you. I don't know how much time there is going to be to spend on that in this. So I think it would be cool to come up with a way to, within the stage, to sort of guide you along, taking, this ingredient sort of like you should head in this direction to cook it. And like maybe at the beginning of each station, there would be a little thing that sort of explains how you use it. But as much as we can do visually, the better, just so that we're not wasting a lot of time with like expository dialogue or text or sort of like backseat gaming. The other thing is the mechanic I mentioned earlier for actually moving this stuff around the stage, and eventually, like, once you're like set up in a location, you should be able to like turn the stuff around. Like if you've got it in a stove and one side is done, you should be able to flip like the piece of meat around and plop it back down on the other side. Or if you're like dipping something into a batter or some hot oil or something. And then a system for how you will actually rate the finished dishes, because I don't know how that stuff works. And then just sweet platforming fun. Art-wise, I didn't want to like throw out too much reference right now, but the basic idea is that it's all super bright and simple and very colorful, just so we can make a lot of different objects very quickly. And then I think having like faces on all of the like machinery in the arena would be kind of cool. Like if they were animated in some way as you interact with them, or they have like little personalities of their own. That's just sort of like an extra little flavor layer that would be nice. And then team ingredients. So a producer, I'll be honest, I don't really know exactly what I need, just because I have not done this before, ever. But this is sort of what I'm turning in. And yeah, you can sort of get a sense here of what I'm looking for from each discipline here. But I really want to emphasize having some animators that are into like goofy 3D stuff, because I feel like there's going to be a lot of animation in it. And also someone to like help develop the look of it. I mean, I can develop concepts, but like the actual like presentation of it is like something that I need a lot of help with. Cool like effect stuff for like things being cooked. Going back to the shrimp example, like what that would look like as it's frying up. Sound, they're all going to be working on this together. And then, yeah, a producer who knows what they're doing, because again, I do not. And yeah, I am pretty much a baby at game design. So anyone who wants to step in and work on that with me and making this fun, I could really use your help. So yeah, that's pretty much it, and I will take questions now if you have them.
So, was this supposed to be like there are two teams with each their own god, and they're trying to like make the better rated meal for their god, or is it just one guy and you're just trying to like? Are there like individual missions to try to complete various meals for a god?
Sure, yeah. It's not meant to be a multiplayer thing. Definitely not in the prototype. I think Game Show Short sort of implies competition, but really this is just putting one chef or a group of chefs that you're all working with on one mission. And there will be like one god per arena and one dish that you have to make. That's another big difference, is that in most cooking games you're serving a lot of people and you're creating a lot of dishes, but really want to like try and break this down into like one big dish that like the entire level revolves around creating.
So for the prototype, would you only have like one god and one set of ingredients, or would you have like multiple gods, multiple sets, but one arena?
I'm thinking just sticking to just having one god for this and see how quickly we can make a level feel complete. Ingredient-wise, I do kind of want to like fast forward ahead through that first process I was talking about, where you would come into the arena with like all the stuff you collected, but if you happen to like screw that up somehow or like burn those things or chop them wrong, whatever, there should always be like a stock of like just sort of base ingredients that you would need to like complete the meal at a bare minimum. So you would like lose style points basically by not having that stuff, but there's going to be like an infinite stock of just like generic stuff that you can always complete the level with.
Just motivation-wise, are you in a hurry because if you don't get food to the god, he gets angrier and angrier, or?
Yeah, it's timed. I was hesitant to like add this on top of the giant list of things, but like I thought it would be cool if, as you were getting further along and time was running out, he was getting more impatient and like doing things to the environment to like make it even harder for you, but that might just be too difficult. So I think it's just the pressure of like beating the clock at this point. Chad?
You mentioned style points. Is there kind of a rating of how well your dish was?
Yeah, I think that's one big thing that we'll need to figure out. I mean, this is another like sort of wish list kind of thing, but I think it would be cool if like at the beginning of the round there were 3 little things that not that you made, but that were presented, small little appetizers or whatever that were presented to the god, and then you saw them eat it or like which one they preferred, and that gave you some clue as to like what like little embellishments they prefer, like if it's something salty or something sweet, and then at the very end you would have like this sort of wide array of things like salt or butter, sugar, or whatever that you could just like add a last little dash on, and then you would get you those last few like points for 100%.
So you're saying you are given missions like exact recipes, or but you also have some for bonus points. Some you can use some idea about what special thing that god likes to just spice it up, or okay.
Yeah, that's another thing to figure out too, is like how to let the player know like how the thing is assembled. I have some ideas for it, but they're still very early. So.
But it will call for something like deep fried shrimp in the recipe, and you can put shrimp on the plate and get half points or something like that.
Well, if you put it in the wrong order, for example, stuff like that, that would count against you. I thought I saw one other hand somewhere.
It's third person, right? Third person.
Yeah, it's a third person like platformer style.
Scale-wise, just thinking in terms of sound, you said all the food is huge, all the implements are. What kind of scale are we talking? Like, is the shrimp like the size of the couch, or what?
Yeah, I mean that sounds pretty good. I'll just figure that out too. I think.
Some from these guys on the internet. How would one playthrough differ from the next? Do the gods request different foods, and also do different gods have different tastes? I.e., Poseidon likes seafood.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think there would be a set god per arena and per dish, but then there would be those little randomized things I was talking about earlier, where you would have to add your own little touch.
So you're kind of cooking a set meal.
Yeah, each level would be designed around creating a specific dish.
Cool.
Andy?
How many dishes do you envision working into this prototype?
Just one.
Just one?
Yeah.
So it'd be a preset menu, like for this
Prefix.
prototype?
Yes.
Prefix, thank you. It would be kind of like, all right, so for the prototype, we're going to make grilled whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking just a big bowl of ramen. 'Cause
Okay,
everyone
sure.
likes that.
And it's going to be like this, the wacky procedure of making a gigantic bowl of ramen and the things that could or couldn't go right or wrong.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is the maneuvering around the arena kind of open? Like, can you go anywhere, or is it more like I guess an old platformer where it's kind of like you go here and you do this ingredient, then you go here and do this ingredient, and then basically like work your way.
Yeah, I would say that it's all this one big sort of open circular kind of arena.
So you can do anything.
You can go anywhere. Yeah,
Okay.
but we would try and like guide the player in such a way that like we sort of set you up for this thing will take the longest to do, so you need to do that first, and that's another challenge to figure out. But yeah, don't want it to be too linear. Like it's not like a double dare course where you're just doing one thing and then the next thing, the next thing. You should sort of be bouncing back and forth. So,
would the ramen be like just regular ramen or like off-stick ramen?
Yeah.
It'd be spicy miso or maybe.
It would be something kind of outlandish. It wouldn't just be like straightforward dishes as they exist
lava
in the real
ramen with
world.
actual lava.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it could be something like that.
So how long, on average, would like a single mission take if you succeed? Is this like a couple minutes or?
Yeah, a couple of minutes. I mean, it's really tough for me to come up with a number off the top of my head right now, but I mean, if I had to guess, like no more than 5.
So it's
3 to 5
like
minutes.
kind of intended to be the kind of thing where if you play it and you like it, you like keep playing the same mission over
Yes.
again to try to get your time lower and lower and lower, and like you get the super optimized runs where people are just like flinging shit
Exactly.
around.
Yeah, yeah. One thing I wanted to emphasize earlier is that you should totally be able to like chuck stuff across the arena. So like once you get really good, I mean, you can just like charge up your arm and like fling it into the fryer from across the room if you want. So hope to see stuff like that happen with really good players.
Can you take damage, like if you fall in the deep fryer?
I was thinking about that, and I feel like that might be a little bit too punishing. One thing that they do in Overcooked is like if you fall off the map, there's just a 5-second respawn time. So maybe something like that. If you fall into a vat of oil and we can't really art you out of that, I think it'll just sort of vanish and then reappear from where you fell in. But yeah, I don't think you should die necessarily.
If the machines that you're using to prepare the foods have personalities and faces and stuff, can they also impact your score? So if like the deep fryer is mad at you, can he burn your food?
Yeah, yeah. I think they would like be judging you for like how well you're doing and behave accordingly. I think if you keep messing something up, it could potentially like kind of go haywire, and you might have like a wrench to like tweak this one little thing to get it to come back down.
Awesome. Excellent. And Alright. Excellent, awesome. Okay, so everybody just say the name of the project you're gonna work on. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go!
Exactly.
Nope. Oh man. Okay, great. Okay, so that's our presentations. Good job to all the presenters. We're going to send out a survey now, and you can do what we told you you're going to do and pick what project you want to work on. And that's it. Except for people on the internet, you can still go buy the bundle if you want to play these games. Now you've seen the presentations, like, oh man, I want to play those prototypes because they're going to be hella broken. But no, they're going to be great. They're going to be great. And you can play them if you buy that bundle and support charity. Anything else that we need to announce, Greg, Spaff? Paul? Any other questions? All right. Thanks for watching. Thanks for coming. Bye. I'm Ninja Fortnite. Ninja Fortnite. Oh, yeah, that's the SDF meeting today.